welcome to Candy Shoppe Yarns, where everything is sugar-free and high in fiber. I am Deborah, your confectioner extraordinaire. I am the owner of Candy Shoppe Yarns, the ultimate destination for knitting and crochet enthusiasts. So join in the friendly community of crafters who have a sweet tooth for fun by hitting the subscribe button. And let's get started on this fun fiber-filled journey. So it is May 19th, 2023, and this is episode 12 of my maker's vlog / podcast, whatever you want to call it. I am actually going to be combining from here on out my maker's vlog with my what's new in the candy shop. That's where I share all of the things that are, my shop news, shop updates, just to make life easier for me. So I'm going to have all of my shop news at the end for those who are interested in that. And I have some fun things to share today, so you'll want to stick through to the very end. It has been just busy, I think, like most people, but we've been working on our garden and putting in our fairy garden. My daughter has we called it the secret garden. Now we just call it the fairy garden because it's full of fairies. And she's been planting that up and putting out all of her fairy things, and I've been planting all of my flower pots and some vegetables. I'm not doing as much this year as I normally do, but I also made a mini tabletop fairy garden for in our backyard where we sit and eat and have gatherings, because I thought that would be fun for the grandkids and little kids that come to have just a fun little magical thing that they can play with there. Little kids like to come see the fairies at our house because our fairies you can touch the fairies and all of the fairy paraphernalia, all of the houses and accessories, and play with them. In most places it's just look but don't touch. We do have things that break from time to time, but that's just part of it. I had to glue my fairy's leg back on today. She had to go to the emergency room for a broken leg, but right now it's healing, so that's okay. I broke that. I was the one that did that today. So I have started if you watched the previous video, I started a make-along. I kind of was late to the game. My husband ended up in the emergency room. He's fine, everything's fine, but that postponed things, and I was already late starting it to begin with, and then that happened. So anyways, we are doing I say we as in the community, those of you who want to participate, in myself, a Mermaid Mal 2023. That's the hashtag that I'm using, and it's for the month of May, all things mermaid themed, so to knit and crochet. And I'll share the things that I'm working on for that today, and that goes through the end of May, though I may consider extending it for another month if we have enough interest and a lot of, if that's continuing on and people are really enthusiastic about it. If not, we're going to end it at the end of May, but I have some fantastic prizes for that. I have a prize for Instagram and a prize for Facebook. I started a new Facebook page. I haven't been on there for a year or two. Time is kind of screwy in my head. But I did open up my business Facebook page, Candy Shoppe Yarns, and that's where I have a post that you can share your finished objects. You can chat in the post that just has information about it. But on Instagram, if you just tag me and use the hashtag MermaidMal2023, then you'll be eligible for the Instagram prize. So let me show you what I have for prizes. It's really good. It's going to be painful to let go of these, honestly. Okay. Let me move things around here so I can get to it all. All right, one of the prizes. So I have dyed yarn I'm going to show you at the end that is mermaid themed. I did a mermaid collection for my summer collection this year, and it is inspired by artwork by Adriana Vanderstelt. She is on Etsy and on Instagram, and I had contacted her about kind of collaborating here and using her images as inspiration for the colorways. And anyway, so I dyed yarn based off of those. And then I also have one of her pieces of artwork here. Now I have it in the plastic, so it's not quite as easy to see. Oh, I don't think you can see. It has just this most delicate shimmer in the hair, all throughout her hair here and on the tail. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love this. So I got one of her pieces of artwork that is just beautiful. It's an 8 by 10. So I have that, as well as a skein of this gorgeous yarn that coordinates with it. This yarn is silk, let me get the information. Silk, mohair, and nylon, but it is not like the mohair that you're used to working with. It is 69% silk, 22% mohair, and 9% nylon, 382 yards per 100 grams. So that's more like a sport weight yarn, but it has the most gorgeous sheen. Is it gonna, let's see. There we go. Oh. It is just beautiful. It makes me think of the sheen on the inside of a shell. It's just gorgeous, and it's the softest pinky mauve color. Anyways, it goes beautifully with this. So I have a skein of that I dyed, as well as a little mermaid fairy. She has a little hat, a little sun hat, which I think is funny, and sunglasses. Is that gonna focus? There we go. So cute, because you know I've been into fairy gardens, so I had to get a mermaid fairy. And one more thing. So I have a book, The Little Mermaid. But what is special about this book is the illustrations. So it's Minalima, I think, is the illustrator. She has done some Harry Potter books and quite a few classic children's stories. Now, I haven't unwrapped this because I want to keep it pristine. So I don't have an example to show you of the inside of this one, but I want to show you a different one that I have to give you an idea of how just magical these books are. So this one is Alice in Wonderland, and it's illustrated. Just a minute, let me get to, I mean, it's a beautiful book, you know, the printing is lovely, it's just gorgeous, but it has a lot of different fun elements to it. All the books do. So they have just illustrations throughout the book on the pages, but then they have, the illustrator has made such fun interactive pages that do different things. Let me find another one here that's a fun one. Oh, here's another illustration that is a fun one for Alice in Wonderland, the Tea Party. And I'm trying to move all of my little protective sleeves in here. Another page here that has this that unfolds. It's just very fun. A fun book. Come here, Luna. Come here, girl. So, oh, I told Luna to come, my dog, and then this dropped on her head. Not the book, but yarn. Okay, so that is one of the prizes. Oh, okay, I've just dropped things. The other prize is, oh, I love this bag so much. This one is by Packed Party. It is, now I've kept this in. Let me take that out. Packed Party. It is this clear, glittery vinyl bag. With all of these fun sparkles and confetti in it. What a fun summery bag. It just makes me think of mermaids. Like the colors, the glitter, the iridescent, it's like seashells in here. And how fun is that? I love this. So to go with this bag, because that would be a fun purse or project bag, of course, that's how I would use it. I have a set of 3 skeins and I have 2 colorway options. So the winner gets to choose from one of these 2. These are both fingering weight yarn on a gold stellina base, but you can't see the gold stellina in the video. It's so disappointing when you just can't capture it because it's so sparkly and fun. So I have 3 skeins of this colorway, and these are both one-of-a-kind colorways. And then I have the second option on the same base, this minty green with speckles of green and teal and blues. Okay, so you get to choose between one of those. All right, Luna, I think this is our routine now, isn't it? I have to let you out each time. Come on. All right, so let's move along. I have today some finished objects. I have some projects I'm working on that are knit and crochet, and I also have a fun guest segment. I have my friend Ashley who has designed a new pattern, and I've invited her to come and share about her new crochet pattern. And I am not someone that does a lot of crochet, but I think it is so fun, and there are so many great patterns out there, and I'm really excited that I got to have a designer who is one of my friends to come and be a guest on this episode. So watch for that. Let's get started with my finished projects. So I finished my Lucky Star socks. This is my pattern, Lucky Star socks, but I also have kits in my shop for that. And it has a fun design element on the heel. Let's see where to put things. I have piles of things all around. When I showed you last time, I couldn't decide what I was going to do on the toe, on the foot, if I was going to keep the green stripes. So let's see. Let me show you what I have done. You'll have to see. Here's the legs, there's the heels, and the foot. I kept the green. I just decided to keep the green. So I finished my Lucky Star socks, and I don't even know. I'm trying to think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is either the 6th or 7th pair / variation on that pattern that I've knit myself. I think 7th, because it's just fun. The main colorway is a one-of-a-kind by Dragonfruit yarn called Sunflower. And then all the other ones were yarns that I had, minis from various collections, various scraps. Like this was, some of these were from my ocean, I forget, ocean water, ocean something mini skein set, I forgot. And then these were from my Sunshine Sorbetto mini skein collection. And then purple is one that I had, and then I dyed these green ones just for this. So that's done. They're gonna go in my sock drawer for the winter. And more socks. So I have a very, very dear friend who I talk to regularly. She likes to knit, and her mother also liked to knit, and I know her mother, and she was one of my customers, and it was just a lovely lady. It's kind of sad, well, very sad, but her mother passed away last year. And so as my friend is going through all of her yarn, she just found that there were a lot of duplicates that they had between the two of them. And so she sent me a box of Felici sock yarn. The ones that they had duplicated between the two of them. And so she sent me that so that I could just make socks, which is really fun. So here is, let me show you. Here's some of them. These are individual balls. There's not two of each of these. And then in here, there's two of each. Is there? 1, 2, 2, 2. Yes. Okay. Because when I look at it here, that doesn't look like there's a... Oh, these two go together. I pulled one out the other day and cranked a sock tube, and then I decided I wanted to do a sock tube, not the sock start to finish on my circular sock knitting machine, because I didn't know how much yardage, like how far I would get with one ball of this yarn, because it didn't have a second ball. And the yarn is called, the colorway is Chelsea. I looked online all over the place to try to find a second ball and couldn't find one, so that's why I did the sock tube. And I made a pair of socks. You can see that the stripes don't match up because these socks would have had to have been, I don't remember how many, 3 or 4 stripes shorter in order to get them to match up, and I would have wasted a lot of that. So I decided to not have them match the stripes, but the socks still match. They still match. And then I bought some bare Felici yarn so that I could do cuffs, heels, and toes. And I wanted to get some more solid colors to do that with. And all they had that I liked were these two. This one is Brittle, and this one is Dragonfruit. So I'd like to get 1 or 2 other colors when they come out with their next collection at some point to see what other solid colors that they would have. But I've got this bare one. If I need to, I can wind some off and dye it. But I wanted to use the same base. I didn't want to mix because Felici is a very specific feel, a very specific gauge, it's its own thing. I wanted them to be Felici from cuff to toe. So these are about a women's US size 7.5, and I think they'll be for my daughter. And they were really fun to make. It was just kind of a nice quick project to do. I just did one part of it a day. Like I cranked the sock tube one day, and then the next day I did the cuff on one, and the next day I did a heel on one, and the toe, and so on and so forth. And then I cranked 2 more sock tubes with some of the single balls that I had. And the first one is Pinwheel. So this is the color progression. And once again, I don't think that these will end up matching. If I divide it in the middle, they won't match. And trying to see, like, starting here at this color, where would I start again? I'd lose 3 or 4 stripes. So I like to keep them as long as I can, unless I decide to make shorty socks. If I make shorty socks, then that's fine. But This colorway would look nice with that for cuffs, heels, and toes. And I did another one, but I don't want to lose this, so let me put it back. And then the other one that I did is Cloudy with a Chance of Rainbows. This is a more moody rainbow. And also, I think this would work with that. These could work together. Neither of them are exactly the same colors, but they go together well. So I'm just enjoying making socks for the fun of making socks. And then they will go in my gift drawer. I'm just working away on my gift drawer for Christmas time. I've been putting things away in there since January, and I'm getting a good selection there. So I'm just going to keep working away on my basket of Felici yarn, and that was such a fun gift to receive. I got that on my birthday in January, along with some other fun things, so I love that. I think this is probably my favorite one, Punky. This one. This will probably be a pair for me. The others will be gifts. That will be for me. I like that one. Let's see. Oh, I lost the ball band on this one. That's also a really fun one. I almost bought this when it came out. This one was Red Rocks. Love that. Okay. So that's my sock projects that are finished. Well, finished and in the making. I do have another sock to share, but it's not finished. We'll get to that one in a minute. I'm going to show you my next finished object. I've shown these before because I made one before. The knitted ribbed baby leggings. Whew. The pattern is Mimi Ribbed Leggings by Mimi Knitting. That was just too hard for me to say for some reason. But that's what I'm making. I made one pair for my niece's baby, and I made a second pair for my daughter's baby, so for my grandson. And the first one, if you watched my previous episode, I'd recommend going back and seeing. I talk about the waistband and kind of my issues there. This one, I didn't put elastic in. I did the drawstring cord, but I attached the drawstring as I went to the inside of the back so it can't get pulled out, because I didn't want that to be a safety issue, having it get pulled out, and the frustration of then having to try and thread it through later. But the pattern had them very long. They were just way too long. So I knit the I-cord, was done with it, and just found it was just too long. I was trying to find the end, show you how much I cut off. So I just I tied the bow to see how long I wanted it and just cut off the extra and unpicked some and wove it back closed. And I tied a little knot at the end to keep them from pulling through. Plus it's cute. Now, one viewer recommended, and this is a good suggestion, that instead of having it go through like this, you can actually have this drawstring come out on this side and this come out on this side, and then tie it, and it helps to kind of keep them in place a little bit better. So that's an option that I could do. And these can be folded up to be like a little cuff depending on how long they need to be, so they can kind of grow with the baby as needed. Can be folded up or down. And these were fun to make. The yarn I used was Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek DK. And the color is Linen, color 04. I bought this at Hobby Lobby, and they did have it when I went back later. So that's good. It's not one that they discontinued recently. The pattern was a challenge. I've talked about this before to figure out, but I realized some of that was my error and some of it was not. But having made it before, you know, one time, then it was fine for me to make it again. You know, I've got my pattern, I've got my notes on here, I can make it. So the first time I made it, I made the 6 to 9 month size. This time I made the 3 to 6 month size. So there's just super cute. And I have quite a bit of yarn. I have this plus another ball that's a little bit smaller, cake that's a little smaller left, that I could knit a sweater with if I wanted to. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not. I really got burned out on ribbing because I made 2 pairs of these that were ribbing. I made this sock that's ribbed all the way down. And then I also made some hats, and I just was like, I can't do any more ribbing. I had also just finished a sweater prior to that where I did, you know, ribbing on the neckband and the waistband. So just needed a break from that for a little bit. So let's talk about the hat. I showed this one last time. This was for a service project here locally. Makers are making hats for Knit for Piece SLC for the Indian reservation. If I remember correctly, I may have the exact group incorrect as to who they're going to, but they're for children, so they wanted children's sizes. Well, they wanted adults, like adult small, and so I did my adult small ice cream swirl hat pattern. But the yarn I used was Lion Brand ice cream, and I don't have this ball band with me now, so I don't remember the name of it, but I showed it in the previous episode. And I extended the brim. It wasn't cuffed, and I made it longer so it could fold up and be warmer. So I made that one, but they had so many fun options in this yarn, so I was good. I only got 2 colors, so that's good. The second one is Blue Moon. That's what the second one is called. And I made a ribbed hat. I did my same stitch count for the ice cream swirl hat, and I did the same ribbing, but I just continued it all the way through. And then I found instructions online for how to do this hat decrease, which I will link down below, that I use that to try to kind of figure out how to do just a 4-point like X decrease. And that is good because then it's so stretchy, like really stretchy, and it can fold up as much as it needs to or down. So if they want it to be slouchy or not slouchy, but oh, I love the yarn. I love it, but I didn't like working with this one. This one was okay. This one I didn't like as much. It felt different, but I still have enough yarn to make another hat in each colorway. So I've made 2. It's going on all year long, or until they have enough hats, which they probably will have enough hats soon enough, because plenty of people like to participate in this. We'll see. But oh, I just love that yarn so much. I want to, like, what else could I make with this? When you have striping, you know, repeating colorways, it doesn't always work to do a sweater or something because it'll pool funnier. Like this stripe, for how big it is for a hat, if you put that on a sweater, then it's going to be minuscule, or depending on what you put it on, it can change that up. So I don't know, it kind of seems like a hat is a perfect project for this yarn. And blankets, you know, you have really long rows, so you wouldn't get a stripe, you'd just get a section kind of thing, depending on what stitch count, what needles you use. For this hat, okay, let me go back. This hat, you use 1 needle size for the brim, and then you go up 2 needle sizes for the body. This one, I did one right in between the two, and I did it for the whole thing. So, okay, what's next? That's all of my finished projects. So now I'm going to switch over to our guest segment before I share my works in progress. So I'm going to introduce you to my friend from my knitting group. Hi, this is Ashley.
Hello.
Welcome, Ashley. I mentioned earlier that I was going to have my friend here. So Ashley is my friend from Knit Night.
Yes.
And she's also a friend that helps me with my yarn, which is really, really, really kind, and I really appreciate it. So I've invited her to come and share her newest pattern with you because I think it is a really neat pattern and I just wanted you to see it. So Ashley, where are you online?
I'm on Instagram at My Handmade Day.
And you're on Ravelry. Where is your
Yes.
pattern?
My pattern is on Etsy and on Ravelry.
Okay, so Etsy, what is your shop?
It's Ashley Coons Designs.
Okay, and is that on Ravelry as well?
It's on Ravelry. I think my username is ASHMCO.
Okay, so I'll have all of that in our description so that you can find that. So let's see your pattern. What is this?
This is a new blanket I made. It's called the Sunburst Crochet Quilt. So it's like crochet granny squares and it was inspired by quilting.
It is so pretty. So I really like the colors that you picked. Oh, Luna even wants to see, sorry. Down. I like the colors that you picked, which really drew me into it. That it's just a really fun design. But I've seen different patterns a lot like this, but I really, really like how yours is kind of a minimalist kind of look. I really like that. It's not, there's not too much going on, but it has enough going on. So anyways, it's really fun. So tell us about the pattern. Tell us what you used, what yarn you used for this one.
I wanted to use a yarn that was accessible to a lot of price points. So this is Big Twist acrylic. You can get it at Joann's craft stores, but you could use really any yarn. But I use
that a worsted weight yarn?
Yeah, worsted weight, yes.
So do you know how, like the yardage for it?
I know how many skeins I have. So I did 3 skeins of the white and 2 skeins of all the other colors.
Okay, so how many colors did you use in this one total?
There's 4 skeins, or 4 colors, excuse me.
Okay, so let's see. Maybe can you show a little bit of the construction of it?
Sure. I brought this as an example.
Okay.
I pretty much made a granny square that's on the diagonal 2 different colors, and that's what this whole blanket is made out of, is these squares that are 2 colors. And then I just did a lot of different color combinations, and then there's like a quilt block in each one, and just the way you orient all the different squares.
Let me find. So this one is right here. Here we go. So depending on the combination and how you rotate it and join it. So
Right.
what seems confusing to me is how many I would need of each of these. Like, how do I know how many of different color combinations?
Well, I say it in the pattern, but there's basically 12 quilt blocks, and each quilt block has 16 squares in it.
Okay. So how big, let's see how big this one is.
It's 50 by 65, I believe.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start over here. La, la, la. This is the length, actually. I just did it that was the length. So it's more this direction. So this is like a lap.
Yeah. It's a good lap
quilt.
size.
A good nap quilt. A good nap blanket. That's
Yeah.
what I would say. That is really fun. So you mentioned that you started this one actually quite a while ago.
It was about a year ago that I started it.
So why did you design this?
Well, I have history in sewing too, and during the pandemic I actually found out that my brother picked up quilting. And so, because I had already learned how to sew when I was a kid, like it kind of re-excited me about sewing. So I did a quilt along, and what I really loved about quilting was how there's just like basic shapes and you can create these really intricate patterns. And my true love is yarn though, so I wanted to see how I could do that with yarn.
I love that. That is really fun. And the border, I like that it's not a fussy border, so it's nice and clean edge looking. So show it up close here. So it looks like you did 3 of the colors
Right.
for the border, the white and then the pink and the brown.
Right.
So that is really fun. So I really love picking colors, so this is what really drew me to yours, is I really liked the colors that you chose. I like that you had a lighter, and these are all solids, so that the pattern is a lot more graphic. It stands out and it's a lot more bold. But you have a really light or white background.
Yeah.
And then you have a mid-tone, and then you have a even deeper, and then the really dark one, so that you get a lot of variation in each block, so that each of the colors are different enough from each other that they stand out. So I really like that.
Thank you.
You did a good job with it.
Thank you.
So Ashley, you mentioned that you have a discount.
Yes.
For viewers?
Yes, I do. A coupon code Candy Shoppe, spelled the same way Deborah spells her podcast name. So
I'll have that also in the description box below, and it was already on the screen as well, so that you can use that when you go to purchase it. Is that would be through Etsy
and Ravelry.
and
you can
Ravelry.
do it on both.
I haven't used Ravelry for a long time, so I don't remember how it all works.
Yeah.
I was trying to find friends the other day. Do I have any friends on Ravelry? I was trying to find somebody on there, and I couldn't even remember how it worked. So anyways, so thank you. Oh,
yes.
Now wait, I wanted to ask also how you joined. You didn't join
Yes.
these as you went. You made all of the squares, and then
I seamed it together afterward, and I seamed through the back loop.
And did you do, okay, so I'm thinking, like, would you do one block at a time and then put the blocks together, or did you do it like a whole long row?
I did it by the block. So
Okay.
the block is the 16 squares right here.
Okay. Because I would think if I was going along
Yeah.
the entire row that I was going to need to change colors all the time, so that, you know, I wouldn't have one stand out.
Yeah.
But that,
Yeah. And another good thing about doing it by the block is then you can block it at a smaller volume without having to block a huge big blanket.
That's a good idea.
So.
Now, okay, this is acrylic, right?
Correct.
So, blocking acrylic, how did you block yours? Because I know that some people, they like to steam block, some people wet, some people, is that, yeah? Those are the two that I know of.
Yeah, I have a steam iron, and I just held it about an inch or two above the fabric and let the steam penetrate the fibers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
And
That's
I
helpful.
mentioned that in the pattern as well.
Okay,
So
perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing this.
Thanks
I
for having
appreciate
me.
it. I'm going to have some pictures of Ashley's quilt here at the end that you can see. Her quilt. I'm calling it a quilt. It's a blanket, but it looks like a quilt.
Yes.
So that's fun. Your quilt Afghan.
yes.
So thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Isn't that such a fun pattern? I love it. I love it. So thanks, Ashley, for joining. Okay, let's start on works in progress. What I'm working on for the Mermaid Mal. I have my basket. These are my shopping baskets for when I do, when I'm a vendor at different yarn festivals. I just like to use these for my projects sometimes because they're just so adorable. Okay, so the pattern that I'm making is, I shared this previously, Watercolor by Autumn Poppy Designs. Luna, you don't have to be so noisy. I just thought it looked very mermaid-like, like with scales. So, look at what I have done. It's so cute. That was so fun to do, and I did it so fast because, just like with self-striping yarn, just wanting to get to the next part of the design, the next color, the next color. Let's see. It went so fast, and I got to the end. Now the pattern has you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these like scallops or shells or scales. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I added in 1, 2, 3 more. I had 8 colors I wanted to use, and the pattern has you do it on the leg and the foot. And I was going to just do the leg, but I wanted to do all 8 colors. So I did that. And the pattern has you go up 2 needle sizes, if I remember correctly, for the color work. So I have done color work socks before, and I don't usually go up a needle size, but I use my 9-inch circular needles. Well, I decided with this one I was going to do it differently. I was going to knit them inside out, so that the floats coming around the edge and on the outside, like when you're on the edge and you go between the front needle and the back needle, sometimes it can be tight and it can be difficult to get that gauge nice and even. So I thought doing it inside out would work. I started it that way and decided I did not enjoy that. I did not enjoy doing that in that method. So I got out my 9-inch circulars and I did the color work in the night. First of all, here's my floats. People like to see the inside. And here's all my ends. I normally weave them in as I go, but I didn't with this one. I got my 9-inch circulars out and I just zipped through it, and then I switched it when I finished the color work and put my other needles back on, and then I tried it on my foot and it doesn't go over my heel. So I was trying really hard to not be too loosey-goosey with my floats and with my color work, because when I've knit my socks before, they look really kind of loose and untidy, but then when you put them on, they look just fine. And then they stretch really well over your heel. But I thought, I think I'm just overdoing it with the ease that I was giving it. So I was trying to do a little less ease, and as I got started, yeah, it goes over fine, but when you have just a small amount of color work, that's different than having a bigger section of it that has to go over your heel for some reason. I don't know why, because it went over my heel just fine, but even down lower, my color work is just as stretchy. So I need to go back to how I was doing it before and give it more stretch. I've left it like this. I haven't ripped it out so I could show it to you first before I started it all over again. But I'm going to show you some of the colorways that I'm using. So this is my Sugar Lips colorway. That's the main yarn that I'm using. And then several of these were from Yarnberry Yarns. 3 of these were from Yarnberry. And they were from an advent calendar. Yeah, I think they were all from the Elf Advent Calendar. And then this peachy one is called Just Beachy from Amanda Makes Yarn, who is no longer dyeing, and that's left over from another pair of socks. This is my gingerbread colorway for my Gingerbread Dreams sock set. This is Sea Glass. This is my Sea Glass colorway, and this is my Sweet Dreams colorway. So all together, I think they're just as pretty as can be, but I have to start all over again, darn it. So probably had I gone up 2 needle sizes as the pattern suggested, I wouldn't have this issue. But no, I know better. They won't be done by the end of May, but it doesn't matter because that's not the point for me. The point for me is just making fun things that make me happy. But having a make along kind of spurs me into doing what certain things like at a certain time instead of waiting, oh, I'll do it later. Like this project, I kept saying I would do it later. Well, later is now. This is called the Wave Lace Crochet Top Pattern. I purchased this on Etsy from Vintage Pattern Faves. I think that's what it was. You know, there's a lot of older patterns that people will sell online. Anyways, that's what this one is. And I didn't know if I would be able to do it. Honestly, I thought I'm gonna give it my best shot because I'm not really great at reading crochet patterns. But all I had to worry about was one stitch at a time, one step at a time. And I read through it and like, hey, can I do that? Yes, I didn't have to know the whole thing start to finish. All I had to worry about was the very first step. So I did the very first step. And once I got that done, all I had to know was the next step. And honestly, it went great. So the yarn I am using is my Circus Peanuts colorway, but it's one of a kind because I added some very, very faint like neon pink speckles to it as an experiment, but you almost can't even see it. So anyways, I had 3 skeins of that. I am almost through my first skein, and I've got my second one ready to go, and my third is still in the hank. And I have it in my Black Pearl Magic sparkly pink bag, perfect for mermaid. And I am almost done with the body from the armpit down, from here down. I'm omitting 1 pattern repeat. I don't want it to be tunic length. I want it to be shorter. So I'm just omitting 1 pattern repeat, but 1 pattern repeat is a good chunk. So let me show you what I have here. And it's all shriveled up because it hasn't been blocked, so it's kind of hard to tell. I have that much done. Oh, I love it. It looks like, I keep thinking this is not gonna fit me. I got gauge, first try. I got gauge and I thought, well, maybe it's still off. But so I laid it out and I measured it, like I pinned it out to how it would be just blocked naturally. Oh, now this is all tangled. And it was the right size, the right measurements. It's just, it looks like it's not gonna, like it's not gonna fit around my hips, but, well, it doesn't have to go around my hips, but it doesn't look like it's gonna fit, but it measures just fine. So let's see if you can see the lacy pattern. That's the back side. This uses a special single crochet variation, and that's what takes the most time because that's every other row you do that. And that's what, can't quite see here. It's kind of a bit of a dimensional stitch, slightly. That takes the most time. And then there's double crochets, then there's double treble crochets, and it makes it all wavy and scallopy, like the waves of the ocean, and this color makes me think of coral. Just, oh, I think this is so fun. This will be so fun to put over like a summery dress. I'm not making the sleeves down to the elbow. I was gonna omit one pattern repeat, but I might make it like just, I don't know. I'm trying to decide how long, and I have to know that pretty soon because I have 3 rows left before it's time for me to start the sleeves. So it's worked bottom up to here with a side seam, and then you cast on stitches one direction and you cast on stitches the other direction, and you do this as far as I know. I only have to know one step at a time. Cast on, you chain one direction and chain the other way, and then you go across doing sleeves, and I don't know if you go all the way around to the back and join in there, or if you work your way up front, work your way up back, and join together on the sides. I don't know. I'll figure that out. And then there's a little border, I think, to put around the edge of the sleeves and the bottom of the body of the garment. I don't know if I will do that edging on the bottom though, because it straightens it out, and I really like that scallop. So we'll see what I decide to do. But it's been a fun project so far. It's not one that I can just sit and do mindlessly though, like knitting, a lot of knitting I can do. So it hasn't gone as fast as I would like because I don't get a lot of time where I can sit and really focus on it a lot. Now that I've done each of the rows multiple times, it's a lot easier to do that. But I still, like with crochet, I have to look at it the whole time I'm working on it. Knitting, I don't have to for all of it. I can do a lot of knitting without looking, but crochet I can't. I remember when I was young, crocheting, I mean, it would just be single crochet or maybe double crochet, maybe. But like just back and forth, like making scarves, something like that. And I remember doing that while watching TV and not having to look. I don't know how I did that, honestly. I have no clue how I did that. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong because I have to look at every single stitch. But I love it. I've been wanting to do something crochet that's not amigurumi, and am I saying that right? Amigurumi or ami? I hear both ways. I hear amigurumi and amigurumi. I could look that up. Yeah, I've been wanting to do some crochet, but I haven't wanted, I don't know, I can't find a lot of things that I'm really interested in making, because for a garment, for the most part, I want that to be knit, not crocheted. And I don't need any more blankets, but they're fun to make. Oh, crocheting a blanket is so fun. And most accessories that I make, like socks, I want those to be knit. And so trying to find something, but just the process of crochet is so fun. So trying to find something that kind of suits all of my desires, my needs, can be tricky. But yeah, that one is hit all of those notes for me, so I'm glad. All right, is that all of my projects? Yep, that's all of them that I'm currently working on. I mean, I always have my fragmentation shawl in the background that I'm working on, but I'll bring that out when it's done at some point. Let's talk about shop news. So first of all, I announced, if you haven't watched any of my previous like what's new in the candy shop videos, I announced that I am doing an advent calendar for the first time this year. I've always said no, I'm not doing it. I decided I'm going to do it this year, and this year it is 80s theme. It's going to be called Retro Rewind, and I'm really excited about that, with 24 20-gram mini skeins with an option for a full skein, a full 100-gram skein, and a few little fun extras that are not knitting or crochet related. They are 1980s related. Just little tiny things, nothing big. I didn't want anything that was over the top. I wanted this to be a more simple one so that it was easier to package and more accessible for people, so that the price isn't astronomical with too many extras. So it's already pricey enough to get an advent calendar. So to do that, you go to the link that I have in this video description for the advent, and you fill out the form, and I will send you an invoice through PayPal to pay. It's not going to be through my website or through my Etsy shop. It's going to be done through that link that I will send to you. And that will only be open for, what is it? Today's the 19th. It's going to be open through the end of May, or until I sell out, whichever one comes first. So I will take down the link when that's full. I also have a link to that, I believe. If not, I need to add that in my Facebook, on my Facebook page. So that's going to be a really, really fun one. But I have a video all about that, so you can go watch that video if you want to go back to my advent calendar, What's New in the Candy Shop. That's the most recent one. And I'm still having, through the end of May, my sock yarn sale. It's 20% off all of my sock yarn in my shop, with one exclusion, my new mermaid collection. And I will show you that in just a minute. But it's all of my sock yarn minis, all of my sock yarn that's fingering weight or DK weight that's ready to ship. Not my dyed to order, so the ready to ship yarn. And I've got quite a few colorways still. A lot of people have shopped that sale, and there's still quite a bit of yarn left, so go get that. Because that is in preparation for a lot of the sock summer knit-alongs, specifically one big one that I joined in on last year and I'm looking forward to doing this year, and that is the Summer Sock Camp hosted by Kay of Crazy Sock Lady Designs. So she has announced that she is doing that knit-along again. Helen Stewart also has her Handmade Sock Society going on right now, and I signed up for that and I got the first pattern. So that's just a really fun, some fun make-alongs, some fun knit-alongs. If you wanted to participate in that, you can get some fun, yummy Candy Shoppe Yarns. Okay, I'm ready to show you my newest summertime collection. This one is called The Mermaid Kingdom. Where did I put everything? So I mentioned earlier that these colorways are all inspired by art by Adriana van der Stelt. I showed one of the pieces of artwork here. So I'm going to tell you the yarn and show you a photo of the inspiration artwork. So the first one is Mermaid's Kiss. I'm going to move to the side here. Okay, now we can put a photo of the inspiration. So this one is golds and pinks and speckles of greens, like and teals, lots of fun colors. And these are all on a stellina, a sparkly gold stellina base, but I also have it available on a DK silver stellina base. And trust me, they sparkle like nobody's business. They're so pretty. So that's the first one. The second one is Seaside Sunset, and it has just beautiful warm sunset tones with golden yellows and peaches and pinks and speckles. It's just a gorgeous tonal colorway. And the next one is Pearl of the Sea. And this one This one I'm, along with one other, I'm most proud of because it took some figuring out how to get these colors together without muddying them, without them blending and becoming brown, because it was tricky, but I love that one. The next one is Siren's Song. It's fuchsia, magenta, purples, reds, just all blended together in this gorgeous tonal colorway. The next one is Ocean Odyssey. Lots of blues, variations of blues, and oh, come on, focus here. And flecks of pinks, purples. This is the other one that I was really proud of getting the colors to not muddy. Seabed Sparkle. Oh, I love this one. Now you can't see in here because it's kind of tucked in and under the label. There's pops of fuchsia and green and blues, and it's just so pretty. Oh, my stomach, I'm hungry. Okay, the 7th one is Mermaid Lagoon, and this is another beautiful tonal colorway with speckles. And the last one, the 8th one, is Fish Scales and Mermaid Tails. Gotta get it to focus each time, takes a second. All right, so this is another tonal colorway with minty greens, different shades of green, and some teals. Oh, I love that collection. This is, I probably say this every time. I am partial because I dye the yarns based on colors that I like and things I'm interested in, but this is probably my favorite one that I've done, along with my Barbie collection. Those two, love it. And I have mini skeins. Look how fun they're packaged. They're in iridescent packaging, and it has a sticker with each of the colorway names and the inspiration photo along the bottom. Oh, I love that. It's so fun. So those are 20-gram mini skeins. So those are in my shop right now, and those will be available throughout the summertime because that's my summertime collection. It's been a bit. Sorry, this is a long one. I feel like I've just been talking and talking so fast because there's so much to share and I'm really excited about it. Oh, you know, here's the other thing I got. I have to tell you. I had to buy my old lady light. I don't think it's an old lady light, but when it came, my husband's like, what is that for? And I said, so I could sit and knit while you're watching a show. And he just laughed like, oh no, we're at that stage now. I'm like, this isn't too obtrusive, isn't it? Is it? Anyways. But now I can knit with ease. Because he wants to have the lights off while watching a show. I want them on, so here's the best of both worlds. But I'm very happy to finally have one. A lot of my friends have one. I didn't get one. Now I'm glad I have it. All right, thanks for joining me for another episode. And I look forward to seeing you again in the future. And go check out my Facebook group, Facebook page. You can chat along in there, share things that you're working on. I just would love to see what everybody's making and hear from you. And I love when you tag me in your posts of things that you've made with my yarn. That makes my day. So thank you so much for all of your comments. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.